There aren't a lot of places with a coastline as impressive as Portugal's. From the Algarve region on the southern coast all the way up to the northern border with Spain, there are endless beaches, waves, and charming villages to explore. So today we are talking about some of the incredible kite spots that you can visit on a trip to the cultural hotspot of Lisbon, Portugal. My name is Veness. Welcome to Destinations. Whether you're looking for epic wave conditions, flatwater lagoons, or just chilled out sessions on the wide open beaches near the city, kiters will find a lot to love about a trip to Portugal. It's just over a half-day's drive from the European kitesurfing mecca of Tarifa, Spain, but here in Portugal you can expect to find steadier wind, cleaner waves, and quieter beaches. For kiters that like a lot of variety in their kite sessions, Portugal is the place to be. And it's not all about what's happening out on the water. Lisbon has become a major cultural center in Europe, and whether it's windy or not, there is so much more to experience, whatever type of traveler you are. So today we are going to tell you everything you need to know about kiteboarding in Portugal in the Lisbon area, and then we'll tell you everything else you need to know before you go. Windy season in Portugal, summer season goes from about May until September, and the wind blows on average 4 days a week, and it's a steady afternoon thermal wind that blows from between 15 to 25 knots. This is prime time for kite surfers that want to travel to Portugal. It's the perfect time to enjoy the sunny, windy days on one of Portugal's many beaches. The wind still blows in the winter season here in Portugal, but it is less frequent and it's hard to rely on. So this is a good time of year for storm chasers and wave lovers, and for experienced kiteboarders that are willing to book a last-minute trip when the forecast looks good. Whatever time of year you come, make sure you have a no-wind plan, because wind does not blow every single day in Portugal. But you can take advantage of those low wind to no wind days and go and explore the city, or get out and go for a drive along the coast. Weather and temperature in Portugal. In the summer you can expect hot temperatures, except when it's cloudy or when the sun has set, so make sure to pack layers just in case. Otherwise, on a beautiful sunny day, it's just a normal beach holiday. For the water, you will want a 3-2 wetsuit if you're kiting on the Atlantic Ocean. But if you're a kiteboarder that rarely finds himself in the water, you may be able to get by with just a shorty. In the winter, it's quite a bit colder, so you'll want a 5-4 or a 4-3 wetsuit for the water and many more layers for on land. This is the kind of trip that you can do as a beach bum, very low-key, laid back all the time, but if you're planning on getting out and exploring the city or going to any events, you may want to bring some dressier clothes because you never know what might happen here in Lisbon. Let's talk kite spots. So in the summer, the best spot to kite in the Lisbon area is the one that's actually closest to the city. But there are many more spots available for kiteboarders that are experienced wave riders, freestylers, or just kiters that are looking for an expedition. Just remember in the summer months that some of these beaches are regulated very strongly, so make sure you pay attention to the regulations and follow them closely to make sure you don't run into any trouble. So we're going to get into all of these different kite spots nearby, but full disclosure, my Portuguese is awful, so there's a very good chance I'm going to pronounce all of them very wrong. But you can take a look at the written spot guide if you click on the eye in the corner of this video to see what I'm actually trying to say and find out where these beaches are. First, and closest to Lisbon at about 25 kilometers away, is Fonte de Telha, which is a very wide open beach that is perfect for kiteboarders of every level, and especially for beginners or those that are just trying to get settled into their first kite session here in Lisbon. So the best place to ride here is right in front of Wind Spirit Kite Center, which is a kite school, cafe, and just a great place to hang out and meet fellow kiteboarders. This spot is pretty easy to find on Google Maps. There's lots of parking in front of the kite center. You can walk in, grab a coffee. If you're not sure where to start with coffee in Portugal, because that's a whole nother story, try the Maia de Leite, which is coffee with milk. Get to know the kite center and the people there, and they'll tell you everything you need to know about this spot. So from there, it's a very short walk across the sand dune and train tracks to the waterfront to set up. If you're new to kiteboarding or just trying to get comfortable at a new spot, you're welcome to talk to the instructors at Wind Spirit. They're very experienced and they're a great crew to get organized with if you need some refreshers or lessons. Another well-known kite spot in Portugal is Guincho, about 35 minutes from Lisbon, and this is an amazing wave spot. Now this spot is more difficult. There are some obstacles on the beach, heavy surf, there's like a rocky cliff face on both sides, and it's a beautiful place to ride. But if you're not sure if your level is there yet, you may want to link up with some instructors or go with a crew of more experienced kiteboarders. Phoenicia is another famous spot that wave lovers will froth over. So this fishing village blew up because the WSL has been doing surf events here, so you know that means the waves are good. But the conditions here can be quite challenging, so again, it's recommended for advanced kiteboarders only. But those who are up for the challenge will be stoked on the waves here in this spot. Now let's talk lagoons, because Portugal is not short on flat water. So there are 2 lagoons that are pretty accessible from Lisbon, and the first is Lago De La Tierra, which is about 40 minutes south, and the other, Lago de Óbidos, is about an hour and a half north. These lagoons are more of a mission to get to, but they are heaven for freestylers who want to practice their unhooked game. But if you're a beginner, don't be too put off. Both of these spots work well for beginners and for kite lessons. As always, unless you're an experienced rider, make sure to come with more experienced kiteboarders or check in with a kite center on the spot, because in some of the lagoons there are quite heavy tides and the current is very strong when the tide is high or when the tides are changing. With more than 1,100 miles of coastline in Portugal, there's no telling how many kite beaches are just waiting to be discovered. So you could go for a drive on any windy day and just see what you'll find. Riding level, here in Portugal there is something for absolutely everyone, from the beginner kiteboarder to advanced and professional level riders. So if you want to learn how to kiteboard in the ocean with jet ski rescue, organize lessons with Wind Spirit, or if you're looking to learn in some flat water, check with one of the kite centers near the lagoons. Portugal is home to many wave and kite competitions, so I think that's a pretty good indicator that the conditions here can be absolutely epic. Facilities on Portugal's kite beaches, some have absolutely nothing, but at Phoenicia, where Wind Spirit is, you have absolutely everything you might need for a comfortable kite trip. So Wind Spirit has a kite school, a kite center, shop, showers, lockers, Wi-Fi, a great cafe with coffee and pastries, delicious burgers, fresh salads, and most of all, good company. So this is the best place to come for a coffee to warm up before your session and a beer to cool off at the end. Things to be cautious of. The main ones are if you're riding at one of the wave spots that we talked about earlier. So these spots typically have rocky coastline, gusty winds, and heavy surf. So if you're not sure if you're ready for that spot, it's probably better to stay in one of the lagoons or at Wind Spirit and Phoenicia. So there are a lot of regulations for kiteboarding in some of Portugal's beaches in the summer, so make sure to double check with the kite center before you get out on the water. So if you want to avoid any fines or having your gear seized by the police, you really want to make sure you know what the lay of the land is and follow the rules closely. But if you're just riding at that big open beach near Wind Spirit, this is about as low stress as it gets for a kite trip. Alright, let's talk about everything else you need to know before your trip to Lisbon, Portugal. How to get to Lisbon. So Lisbon Portela Airport is a wonderful international airport, and they often have affordable flights from many locations in North America and within Europe. If you're already in Europe, you may want to consider driving if you're somewhere nearby like Spain or France, which is not that near, but the drive is beautiful and it can be worth it. Just watch out for the road tolls because they can get quite expensive. So if you're driving, plan your route in advance, but really the easiest way to get here is just a flight straight into Lisbon. A rental car is absolutely essential for exploring the kite spots in the Lisbon area. But forewarning, if you're driving around the downtown center of Lisbon, driving and parking is very difficult, so be careful. Quick side tip, if you're driving around the area, sometimes Google Maps will actually send you down roads that aren't really meant to be roads at all, so the best thing to do is to stay on the paved roads, or you may find yourself stuck in someone's front yard or having to reverse your vehicle. Lisbon is such a tourist-friendly destination, and most of those who are working in the tourism industry speak enough English to help you get by, especially if your Portuguese is as bad as mine is. When it comes to accommodation, there are tons of options for every level and style of traveler, from luxury to low-key. There's hotels, beach hostels, city hostels, Airbnbs, guest houses, and pretty much anything you can imagine. Lisbon can be a very affordable trip for those traveling on a budget, but you also have the option to live large a little bit and enjoy everything that Lisbon has to offer. A trip to Portugal isn't complete without experiencing the local food. So here, seafood is where it's at. Just a little tip though, some of the best seafood that I had in Lisbon and in the surrounding areas was in the most basic looking restaurants, so don't be afraid to try something that looks a little under the radar. You'll often see fruit stands along the street, or on any of the shopping streets you'll find food stalls, so you can pick up everything you need for a healthy, fresh meal at home. Probably the coolest thing about a trip to Lisbon is that there is so much to do other than kiting for everyone. So it's a great place to bring friends, family, or mixed groups of kiters and non-kiters because there's endless choices for activities. When you're in Lisbon, you could spend all day, if not many days, just wandering around the small stone streets, peeking into cafes and shop fronts, and just exploring. There's a ton to see here, and whether you're going into the museums and galleries or watching live shows or just walking around enjoying the scenery, having a drink on the waterfront, listening to the buskers, it's a beautiful way to just experience what Lisbon, Portugal is all about. Now, my favorite thing about traveling around the Lisbon area though was the road trip. So if you have a couple of days, get in the car and head south and check out the Algarve region, where you can see the beautiful towns of Sagres and Faro. And here the shoreline is absolutely incredible. You have towering cliffs, beautiful surf beaches, and the most magical little villages if you stay off the highway and go onto the local roads. Portugal was one of the best kite destinations I've been to this year, and a lot of that came down to just going slow and exploring. This is the perfect kite destination for anyone who loves a good balance of kiting, culture, and scenery. For more information on the kite spots in the Lisbon area, click on the little eye in the corner to get to the written spot guide, where you'll find information like contacts and links for your trip. And if you have any questions about these kite spots, please leave us a comment, or you can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to be notified of the next destination. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Destinations.